Hi there. I'm Smita Murthy, Managing Partner at OpenCliff Partners. We're a product advisory and consulting firm. As a woman who spent over 25 years in tech, product, and leadership in corporate roles, I have crossed paths with inspiring women who walk the talk, have an abundance mindset, and have helped shape my career journey. My hope is, through my actions while I was in corporate roles and now in this chapter of my professional life, that I give back and pay it forward. There's plenty of research that shows that women don't have enough women role models to look up to learn from, and to emulate. And very few women leaders who break the glass ceiling, be it in corporate, entrepreneurial, or other arenas, actually support other women in terms of being a champion, sponsor, or advocate to other women. And worse, see them as competition. The inspiration for this podcast series is to showcase women in tech, product, and leadership who inspire, who actually help, and are positive influences for those who have the good fortune to be in their orbits, lifting as they climb. Today, I'm beyond excited to host Lori Tierney. Lori is a private company board director in life sciences, health tech, and pharma services. She's a past president of Johnson & Johnson, MedTech, Vision, and Aesthetics. Her motto is fierce delivery, mad fun, as she leads incredible performance through people anchored in customer delight. Lori, so excited to host you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And my two bits on Lori is we have crossed paths multiple times. And as they say, life sciences can be a small world. In a previous role, I had brought Lori onto our customer advisory board when she was at J&J. And now we both have the good fortune of working together in a company where I'm advising and she's on the board. So I'm so glad we got to meet each other in person finally. And I'm so excited to be doing the show with you. Welcome again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. And more than anything, I just appreciate the nature of our organic connection to what we do, how personal our histories have been, and how unbelievably optimistic we both are at this age and stage of professional and personal lives and growth and development to really look at the leaders that will be shepherding the next generation of technology, the next generation of leadership, and the next generation of truly extending gifts and talents to make everything better. For me, it's always a delight to have just that micro topic around female leadership. I have been extremely blessed, as you and I have spoken, because I've had the unbelievable gift of consistency in incredible women throughout the course of my life and career. As you and I talked about, I am one of 5 children, 4 girls and a boy. We're all a year apart. I was raised in a home with my mom and my grandmother, and I look at gender as an opportunity for everybody to bring the very best they can to the table. And I always highlight this notion of gender alliance partnership because clearly at my age, 55 years old, and where I began 30 some years ago, thank you, I have been truly blessed as well with some incredible male role models, mentors, figures, and sponsors. So it's wonderful. Let's talk about all of it. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. Let's just dive right into it. And by the way, the audience, you're in for such a treat. I thought I was an off the chart extrovert, high energy person. I think Lori has me beat. Yeah, the energy is palpable from her in any form of any way we've connected. In person was electric. So I think the audience is in for a real treat with this one. All right, let's just dive right into it, Lori. What are some key leadership lessons you live by?
So for me personally, my origin story is one of incredible heart and soul and one of work ethic. My parents are both vo-tech educated, and I am the first in my family to complete college and a master's degree. And there was never a doubt in my mind that I was wholly supported in my academic pursuits and my social pursuits. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey for me because what was always role modeled was ethics, morals, credibility, and an incredible, incredible commitment to this humble nature of teaming. I mentioned I was the middle of five kids. That's a team in and of itself.
Yep.
I grew up in the inner city in Philadelphia. I went to a very small parish school where essentially 20 some children in a classroom became a team unto ourselves. After all of these years, we are still a really tight knit community where we lean in and support one another. We support one another's parents. We support one another's grandparents. We've had this incredible life journey together. So for me, I really look at leadership and the beginning of leadership as a complete understanding of what it means, one, to be a part of a team. What I've learned over time is that teams need to be formed in this mathematical equation on the basis of complement, where we all have our very unique strengths, technical skills, competencies, talents, and they may offset, or someone else may offset my development zones, as an example. So for me, leadership has been a learning journey. It is ongoing. It is as much what you observe and absorb as it is what you absolutely role model. And very different leadership perspectives in my 20s versus 30s versus 40s, and now in my 50s. But it truly has been a build to all things that ultimately lead in corporate to high performance teams that really view the pleasure of doing hard work together as an absolute gift and recognize the magic that comes with the balance of a team of complement.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And actually, that's a perfect segue into a question I was going to ask you about. We all have people we look up to, right, who inspire and shape our journeys. Tell me about a role model or multiple role models that have inspired you in your career journey and why.
So I'm gonna reflect on my professional journey, but I can't talk about role models without talking about my mom and my grandmother. My mom was widowed at 24 years old with five kids. And
Wow.
my mom, who's one of 10 and from a big family in Philadelphia, literally came home from Iowa, which was where her husband, my father, Tom Tierney's family was from. She came home at 24 with five kids, a vo-tech education, and limited work experience, and was committed to ensuring the health, well being, and stability of this unit. So I have to always reference the intensity and incredible nature of my mom, Rosie V, who literally started a job as a $1 an hour waitress when
Wow.
her children were 3 months old, 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. And she had the
I'm getting
support.
goosebumps. I'm sorry.
My mom had the support of a large and loving family, but she also was highly embraced by the community. In her world, in her professional experience, her community was restaurants, hotels, and ultimately she leaned into a customer service experience that led her into a banking customer service rep where she spent 15 plus years
Wow.
from age 50 on as an end cap to a career that really continues to this day. So I have to reference my mom, Rosie V. I have to reference my grandmother, Anna Teresa D'Annunzio Valentino. My grandmother is the mother of this incredible man that married my mom and us five kids when my mom turned 30. So my mom remarried for the second time after being a widow an incredible man, Rudolph Valentino. I can gush and speak volumes in what somebody who marries in 1978, a woman with 5 kids. Not only that, my mom's one of 10. And my father, who raised me, who I live for, Rudolph Valentino, is an only child,
Wow.
first
So you
generation
really married
Italian
like a
American.
large family.
So it really was about community. It was about knowing that the bedrock at home and the standards that were set at home were expected to be carried out in our neighborhood, in our community. And the expectations were high. We were all representing Tierneys and Valentinos. And it was critically important that we truly understand how we were to lend our gifts and talents and how we were to be a part of a solution in any given situation. So, from
Beautiful.
a personal standpoint, I have to shout out three of my biggest heroes: my mom, my grandma, and my dad.
Yeah.
On a personal level, because I was such a hustler at such a young age, I got this incredible job when I was 12 years old to be responsible for a 6-month-old baby. And I've had tons of experience with babies, as you can imagine, being a part of such a big family. But the mom of this child, her name was and is Avery Rome. Avery was a Swarthmore educated wonderkin. She
Wow.
was the editor of the Philadelphia Inquirer Sunday magazine, which was an award winning magazine in the 80s and 90s. And I had never met anybody like Avery before in my life. And my question count had to be limited in every engagement with her because she was so different than anyone I'd ever engaged in my life. Not only her education, not only her artistic brilliance, not only her network. Her father was this incredible man who essentially was the Rome in blank Rome, Comiskey and Macaulay, which was a big civil rights law firm in the 60s in Philadelphia. So there's all of this history. There's all of this experience. There's all of this, what I would call like worn in leather that came with my relationship with Avery, observing, watching, listening, learning. She was a working mom. She was married to a gentleman who was also in the newspaper business, the journal business. And she had her first child um, at age 40. And I really was an extension of their family. 6 years later, she had her second child. So Avery, many moons later, was a part of my big day when my husband and I married. She actually was a lector at my wedding. She's
Oh,
played a
wow.
significant role in my life, and I forever and will always watch, respect, and admire the many lessons that she taught me about sacrifice, about personal commitments. And this is so important for women: a personal commitment to a career that was built, in her particular case, for almost 20 years before she had her first child. And the acknowledgement that I can't have everything all at once, but I'm willing to make sacrifices in order to achieve what I believed and can say now as an adult was her realization of her full potential. And
Yeah.
being a part of her and her husband's family and extended professional and friend community was an eye-opening experience that I would have never had had I not had that first female role model to really look up
Amazing.
to. Really
Amazing.
incredible.
Yep.
And then I got into the care of health upon graduation at Drexel in 1992, and I was in R&D human resources as a temp college overhire, and that began a whole new journey, and that began a series of incredible role models again for me to look up to. And it was in my 20s, at the end of my 20s, that I basically met this incredible woman. Her name is Julie McHugh. She's a dear friend of mine. She is a public company corporate board member. She was the chief operating officer at a company called Endo, which I worked at.
Yeah.
She was one of the first female presidents at Senecor, which was this beautiful biotech company that was acquired by J&J around the year 2000. And Julie has been a consistent figure in my life for 25 years. And Julie, too, is one of 5 kids, 4 girls and a boy. I
There you
find
go.
that we made such a personal connection relative to her construct and upbringing. Julie has really, in my experience in looking up, she has been so generous with sharing a lot of the firsts that she's experienced, all of the good and all of the challenge,
Yeah.
all of the beautiful and wondrous and all of the complex. And that is our whole life as a human being. It's always going to be this
Both.
beautiful mix, as you know. I mean, you and I have talked about this. You too have had these experiences as a woman in tech, being the first, being the only, essentially assuming challenge and responsibility that other people couldn't quite figure out. And that literally from day one, you knew would be the next big breakthrough for you in your career, should you survive and thrive some of those big challenges. So, Julie has been such an amazing figure for me from a professional example standpoint, but she's also been just an incredible friend and confidant. There isn't anything that we have not covered in terms of the life that we share together. And I just respect and value her so much. And then there are 2 other, if I could say. Um,
Sure.
One is a gentleman by the name of Paul Hudson. Paul Hudson is a current CEO at Sanofi. He lives in France. He and I, 25 years ago, met one another when we were globalizing this incredible brand immunology, Remicade. It was a first in class, best in class infusible product. The gifts of this product to so many lives where chronic conditions weren't curable, but could be put into remission and quality of life could be resumed, whether it was rheumatoid arthritis, whether it was Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, ankylosing spondylitis, whether it was psoriasis. I mean, it was an amazing, amazing portfolio in a product. And there was a lot of magic to the experience that I had when I was junior in marketing, in sales at Senecor, because we basically were an independent biotech company before J&J acquired. And
Mm.
so there were, commercial agreements made about commercializing Remicade in Europe and Latin America. And we had these incredible partners at Shearing Plow. And Paul Hudson was my key link there at Shearing Plow. It
Amazing.
really speaks to the network. It
Yeah.
speaks to the collaboration and teaming. It speaks to the incredible work delivered over an extended period of time, and it speaks to the trust and rapport that comes with networks. But I think of Paul in many ways as an incredible mentor, because Paul is really someone who is beyond his time. And I say that because we're talking late 90s, early 2000s, late 2000s, early 2010s, when we came back to working together at AstraZeneca. But he just has an incredible growth mindset. He has an incredible innovation mindset. He's willing to invest in what is not a known commercial engine. He's willing to diversify go to market strategies, always anchoring to customer centricity. And he was one of the very first leaders that acknowledged the beauty and difference in DEI. It
Mm.
wasn't referred to as DEI then.
Yeah, it didn't have a name.
It didn't have a name, but he recognized, being a global citizen himself, that we were dealing with languages and cultures and regulatory environments. We were dealing with different payer environments. We were dealing with different mechanisms of action and modes of administration. And he had this beautiful way of really creating a commonality in every single citizen of the world. And I've said this many, many times over to the many folks that I've had the privilege of mentoring. Genuinely speaking, we all want the same things:
Yeah,
race, creed, color,
absolutely.
culture. We all want the same things. We want health and well being. We want family. We want community. We want education. And we want innovation and industriousness. And we want safety. And I really, really credit Paul with bringing all of the global experiences that he had had before I had ever met him at age 30, and elevating and enlightening my global view that went beyond just a US centered environment, which is all that I knew in
Mhm.
my life at that stage of the game. So I really wanted to shout him out because he's been an incredible mentor and he's seen the brilliance of talent, and he has acknowledged and accelerated female talent in numerous ways because he's acknowledged the gift of opportunity that he's had, and he's acknowledged how he's delivered performance that it has enabled his own growth. But he knows that he's never been a team of one. He knows that he's been a team of very diverse individuals, and he's always been willing to go the extra mile, in my experience with him, both professionally and personally, to support what is critically important. And that is, backgrounds and experiences that are diverse, viewpoints that are diverse, professional engagements with, very diverse professional environments, mid-sized companies, large multinational companies, the willingness to lean into small company leadership to really develop potential partnerships, to lean into service organizations. I'd say, like, Paul was one of the OGs of digital. Digital was digital on a banner ad before it became, multi-channel, and before it became AI enabled, and
Right.
before it became, completely documented as we do now relative to return on investment, relative to every dollar spent in demand generation activities. So I wanted to shout Paul out too.
Amazing, amazing. And I think as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about what you said earlier about how blessed you are to not only have personal role models from your life, like people you're related to, but also you've had the good fortune of having professionals who became friends, etc., but like were genuinely looking out and giving. It's like Picasso said, like, your purpose in life is to find your gift, and your maybe I got this wrong, but like your purpose is to just give away that gift, right?
Yes,
I mean, to find the gift and then to give it away. And you've been on the receiving end of that from some of these incredible people. So amazing, amazing to hear about that. All right. So, what are all the different ways that you've had this good fortune of having all these people who've given? What are all the ways you have leveraged your success, your illustrious career, to help other women in their careers, in your corporate life? And I'd love to hear what you're doing now in this second chapter or a different chapter of your life, your professional life.
absolutely. I was so excited to have this discussion with you, and this specific area of discussion is so critically important. So, all of the examples that I've used are people that I've actually worked for. And when you work for and with people, they on the daily see how you move through your professional life. They
Yeah.
see the impact that you have. They
Mhm.
see how you lead, how you manage, how you navigate challenges, how you literally run businesses with highly competitive market landscapes. And so those types of relationships for me are much more natural and organic. And that's why so many of my professional engagements have become deeply cherished personal relationships. I have never, ever been, despite my very clinical extroversion, I'm a very organic person. And I have never been comfortable actually reaching into an unfamiliar community. And with my departure and retirement at J&J at the end of 2024, I actually created these like quarter by quarter goals for myself from a personal growth standpoint. One of the goals for Q1 2025 for me was to actually personally reach out to someone who I'd never worked with, but who I had observed and admired from afar. And I
Wow.
wanted to face my fear because again, my origin story being from West Philly, really being like what I would call like a true grinder. Like it's like you're earning and doing and living and learning like day in and day out, and you're building from the ground up. That's been my context. I didn't have a professional network. Everything that I did was new and first: applications to college, applications to graduate school, applications in professional work environments, interviews. All of these things were new. And I'm so grateful that I had such an openness in my mindset. I had no idea that there were networks that even existed or that there were mentors that would equip and prepare you for these experiences. So I was just, I was grinding and I was running fast and hard. So I achieved my Q1 25 goal of reaching into an unfamiliar professional network. And
Mhm.
I sent a LinkedIn inbox message to this amazing woman named Denise Torres.
Okay.
Denise Torres is, again, oh my gosh, like when I think about her life experience and the generosity of what she shared with me, starting with her response to my LinkedIn inbox. It made me think of the hundreds of inbox messages that I just never got to when I was running businesses in
Yeah.
corporate. And it really taught me a valuable lesson about what it means to not only extend the olive branch in a place of utter humility and candidly, all and positive impression, and to have that olive branch received and the beauty that was enabled as a result of this. So, Denise Torres, she runs a beautiful podcast as well. It's called
Wow.
Flip the Tortilla.
Mhm.
She is a JD by training, multiple masters. She's gone all in brains first on the AI generation that is now.
Beautiful. Yep.
She's a public company board member. She has initiated her own nonprofit organizations. To me, she is someone to really be looked up to. And if you were to ask her to describe herself, she would say, I am a person who lives wide open and I open my heart based on the things that matter the most. She's a justice warrior. She is an equity warrior. She's incredible. But I have since built over the course of the last 8 months this beautiful personal and professional relationship. I literally was nervous to send the message.
Oh,
I
I
read
can't
the
believe that, but
message. I
wow.
know. People always say that. They're like, that can't be. And I'm like, no, it truly is. Because
Yeah.
I didn't want to be what I'm not, which is
Yeah.
simply an opportunist or somebody that like had a need that Denise could fill. I had no need. I was looking for nothing. I
Yeah.
just wanted to
That's beautiful.
overcome one of my
Yeah.
fears, which is essentially leaning into a complete unfamiliar individual who I actually from a distance respected, admired, and tracked. And I did it. And her response gave me the greatest gift in life. And parenting my kids who are 19 and 17, a sophomore in college and a senior in high school, I was so jubilant to share this experience with them because I see in my daughter very specifically a an independence and an autonomy and an agency and this hustle mentality where she feels like she's going to do it all on her own. And none of us can. And to be humble and to be vulnerable like that
Yeah.
was something that I'd never done. And so having done it, I'm proud of myself, and I'm
Yay.
super, super excited that I now have this, authentic engagement that I could share with my young kids that I think will, really support them as they go. And then
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
you had asked very specifically about like the amazing gift that I've been able to be as a mentor, as a champion, as a sponsor. And I really, truly, I almost view it as a greater gift to give than the many beautiful gifts that I've received. So I share with utter candor experiences of, for example, talent and succession planning. Talent and succession planning is a critical requirement for every company, small, medium, large, public, private. Every company is building their growth plan, and those business plans are year to year. Every company that ultimately is seeking financial support through the market in any way has to demonstrate the incredible strength of their competitive mid and long term plans. And technology plays a big part in how companies can move from assets to portfolios to game changing business strategy. But none of that happens without talent. And talent, much like the earlier example I gave regarding true teams of complement,
Mhm.
has to come through a disciplined talent and succession planning process. So, one of the things that I learned early in my career was what this whole process was and the why behind it. I feel like that's kind of fallen off despite all of the amazing programs
Yeah.
that companies have in talent recruitment, in talent development, in talent planning, in succession planning. So, one of the greatest gifts that I feel highly responsible to every single individual in my employ is utter transparency around talent and succession planning. But the beauty of the personal engagement with my mentees, many, many women, and I find that my mentee relationships become forever relationships.
Love
I
it.
remember hearing like, there's a reason and a season, and you can't be all things to all people. There's a limited amount of time in each day. So I'm very judicious about how I lean into my mentor mentee relationship based on time and commitment. It is a two-way street. And,
Absolutely.
and very often I felt like mentees look to the mentors for X, Y, and Z. And I basically reset the formula. And I actually use this formula in the coaching engagements that I have now on a personal level. I talk about what your goals and objectives are. I talk about what my goals and objectives are because the reciprocal nature of experience and wisdom has been such a gift to me over the course of my professional journey.
Yeah.
My complete engagement in all things digital, transformative, strategic planning, black belting, I would say really from a supply chain quality and planning perspective, all have come out of either corporate pairings, mentor mentee, or just organic personal connections to people who are very, very different than myself.
Yeah.
So, my big public service announcement to everyone who I believe has an obligation to be both mentor and mentee is to lean into unfamiliar technical skill and competency areas for your benefit. I'll give you an example. One of my best mentor mentee relationships right at the beginning of COVID was an MD who was an ER physician at the beginning of COVID. He left
Wow.
hospital practice to come to work at Johnson and Johnson. He was in the biopharm business at J&J. I was in the med tech business at J&J. I sought a director level talent that was in a discipline different than myself based on that mutual exchange that I talked about.
Yeah.
And Dr. Jablow, again, has become a friend,
There you
but
go.
beauty of being able to help him navigate a corporate environment, a first for him, who's one of the most educated people in the world, one of the most experienced patient care people in the world, one of the most gracious hearts in the world. He was moving into a very significant role in our R&D organization, and it was a beautiful journey. It's got to be a two-way street. There needs to be humility and commitment on both sides of the equation. And you have to be candid about your observations, which clearly are informed by your historic experiences. And I always seek feedback from my mentees. I say,
That's
what
great.
can I do more of, less of, better? And the feedback's actually been really consistent, which really helps me narrow the focus on my own professional development plan.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I think I hear a theme of that authentic relationship. The point you made about that discomfort in reaching out to someone you don't know with no agenda, right? Other than, hey, you're someone I admire. I just want to connect with you.
Mhm.
It kind of speaks to the thousands of requests we get on LinkedIn from people who don't give any context, who are, they have an agenda
Yeah.
clearly, or they give no context and they say, I just want to connect with you. And I'm like, why? Right. Right. So why do you want to connect with me? It's just, I think, good to highlight to people that if you do reach out to people, please use that personalized invite option on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So I remember when I reached out to you, Lori, I was like, I'm 99% sure we exchanged several emails in
Yes.
my previous life.
Yes.
And then I wrote to you. But sometimes, giving that context, people are more open to, let me connect with this person, versus like a random request where you're like, okay, you can follow me, but I
Yes.
don't know why I'm connecting with you.
Right.
So I think that's important. I think you've highlighted the importance of a network that's built when there's no immediate need
Yes.
from that. And I think that's super, super important. I think in my current phase of my career, I try very hard not to renew a network connection with an agenda. I try very hard to say, hey, it's been a long time. Just want to catch up with you. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm not trying to say this is what I'm doing. I need your help. But
Right.
just more to say, hey, we worked in the past or whatever it is. I just want to catch up. Just want to
Yep.
catch up and see what's
Yeah.
going on. So that's a great approach. Awesome. All right. And we're almost getting to the tail end of this conversation. But I think, one of the questions I was going to ask you, I think you answered it, which is in whenever you've reached out to people to help you in your career, what are some of the best ways people have helped you? And you talked about, uh, making it a two-way street, making it more a relationship without an agenda at the beginning. Those are some of the best ways people connect with you. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
I would say, honestly, people that are forthright about their passion, um, I find create an openness when there's that shared understanding of what we're in pursuit of.
Yeah.
So for those that know me, they know that I've only ever been in the care of health because it's personal. And it's personal because my husband is a 9-time cancer survivor. He's a living, breathing
Yeah.
miracle.
Yeah.
And the beauty of my limitless commitment to customer engagement comes from a complete understanding of what surgeons and doctors and nurses and PAs and NPs and clinical research associates and triage agents, you name it, the continuum of care for patients matter to me. They matter to me so much. And I have essentially honed my business and my financial acumen through my understanding of truly following the patient journey, truly understanding the public or private payer reimbursement landscape, truly understanding technology investment. And so when people have a passion for any given therapeutic area or disease state or any given role, or they have a passion for acknowledging the complexity of the healthcare system all around the world, but they still have that burning optimism to want to make a difference in knowing what your small capability is to being a part of the solution. It's like that common ground.
Yeah.
You lean into something that has personal meaning to someone, it can create this amazing fire starting moment. And that's where genuine, authentic connection comes from. And when people do call me or text me or email me or inbox me and they say, I need something, I'm open to that as well. If there's a means by which I can aid people on their journey, I'm going to make time and space for that. But clearly, that genuine connection based on common ground, shared passion, that has always been like a big win for me, honestly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hear you. All right. Please share your favorite life quote with our audience and how that's been relevant to you in your life.
So, my favorite quote is to those whom much is given, much is expected. And the reason why that resonates with me, as I mentioned, I'm the middle of 5 kids. We're the ultimate team of complement. We all
Yeah.
have complementary strengths. We all stand for and support each other. I feel like it's been a playbook for teaming success in my life. But my strengths are different than Patty or Tina or Teresa or Michael. And it took me time and it took me work, candidly, because I was the middle of 5 kids, to kind of be courageous enough to kind of step up and embrace the unique things that really are akin to who I am individually and uniquely. And I take very seriously what I know are my core strengths, what I know are my key talents, what I know can make the difference for really, really complex situations, relationships, business problems. And I am much more confident in leaning into because I know how much I've been given in the forms of gifts and strengths. And I know it's my obligation and responsibility to lean in and to pay it forward. So that's always been one of my absolute treasured, I'd say, you know, it's almost like a video reel in the back of my mind because I can think of so many things where, you don't want to be too much. You don't want to come on too strong. You don't want to be too opinionated. You don't want to be, it's like the Barbie movie. I love America Ferrera's soliloquy in the Barbie movie because it's so damn true.
Yep.
And in some of the early corporate training, my coaching was being beat about the head and neck about everything, what I wore, how much jewelry, how fast I spoke, the colorful language that I would sometimes use. And what I came to realize is all of it has been a gift.
Yeah.
Every ounce of feedback has been a gift. What has changed in the 30s and 40s for me is the receipt of critical feedback. I don't refute or reject or deny, but I'm wholly empowered about what in the feedback I am going to internalize and how I am going to do what my absolute goal is to do, which is to top my personal best as a human being, as a business leader, as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, sister, friend, you name it. But to those who much is given, much is expected. And
Love it.
everything that I've been given in terms of God-given gifts and talents, I'm super clear on. And everything else that I've been given in terms of opportunity that I've had to slay in order to earn the next opportunity, I embrace and give thanks for my personal commitment to bringing my whole self to work.
Beautiful. Wow. Awesome. All right. Let's top it off with any book recommendations that you may have for our audience. It could be about life philosophy, professional, whatever that helps you stay true to who you are. You have a book.
I do, because my CEO at Acto, who you and I know well,
Yes.
Parth just made the recommendation, Reid Hoffman and Greg Beto, what could possibly go right with our AI future. And the
Wow.
book
Okay.
title is Super Agency. And I'm telling you, these gents don't know that I'm pimping their book, but I want to say that for me, when people recommend books, I go right to Amazon, I go right to the book reviews, I look at the exec summaries of the book. What I read from a business standpoint are basically areas of interest that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
And I've been on my own journey from a empathic AI perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel so one with where the world is heading with respect to the empathic AI journey. Parth and literally the Acto team they've been incredible instructors and teachers for me. But I also want to be really entrenched in the science of this whole concept of AI and super agency. So this was the last book I read. I will be very candid. Every month on the 1st and the 15th, at least a stack of old school magazines still come my way. And they are called um, Elle, Allure, Glamour,
Love it.
the Philadelphia Business Journal, because all things Philadelphia all the time. I
Yeah.
love fashion. I love art. I love technology. I love innovation. I tease my husband that by around 9:30 in the morning, I've definitely discovered the end of the internet today, because there are so many beautiful, varied interests, and I'm on this, perpetual learning journey. And I genuinely believe that we stay sharp and we maintain and grow our creative capability by recessing different parts of our brain. And it takes fun to do that. It takes science to do that. It takes math to do that. It takes engineering marvels to do that. And it takes people that really light you up because of the very interesting ways that their brains lean into a critical thinking mindset. So that's who I am. I'm on the journey, and it's been a beautiful one.
Oh, it has. And I am so honored you've given me the time today. And our audience is going to just benefit from this. And if nothing else, they're going to just feel the goosebumps I felt for the entire recording, because so many of the stories you told, I could see parallels. Some of them I didn't have parallels, so I was listening and learning from it. So Lori, it's been an absolute pleasure as always speaking with you and for having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
The pleasure was all mine. I feel it was a gift that we were reconnected after a handful of years. I so enjoyed our summit experience in Chicago together. It was so personal, so beautiful, so brilliant. I wish you the very best always, and I look forward to our continued work together.
Sounds great. Thank you, Lori.